Delusion aside, the Big 12 has nothing on the Pac-12. Jeez, don't pull any punches there, John. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA College Football, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do some pro football videos, some college football videos, and some Madden videos as well. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. All that stuff drives engagement, especially that red subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And also the like button. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, we are in a situation where for the longest time, ever since the announcement that USC and UCLA were leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten, it's just been me, but it has been almost all pro Big 12. Big 12 is going to raid the Pac-12 news. That's just been everything I've seen. There's been a lot of inside sources here and there. We'll have to see what happens with those sources. There's been one account on Twitter. I have to actually find it, but he has basically been, he's a West Virginia account, and he has been just feeding a ton of stories in here. Whether or not they're true or not, we don't know. We're going to see in the coming weeks here. But I wanted to go ahead and bring up an article because the West Coast pushback is coming back. The Big 12 last year lost Texas and Oklahoma. They left the conference, and then they added UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston to the conference. So they were kind of solidified. They had the IRA 8 plus those 4. They are now at 12. However, with that, they were now kind of standing from a position of strength. And like, yo, we can take advantage of this watered down Pac-10. Now the Pac-12, Pac-10. But we're going to be able to take some of those people away from them. We're going to be able to pull some people over. Maybe a little bit of those four corner schools, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, something like that. We can pull them over. Maybe even Washington, Oregon. Well, there was a report recently that had some issues with that. So here you are with JohnCanzano.com. The bald-faced truth by John Canzano. John Canzano. Delusion aside, the Big 12 has nothing on the Pac-12. Jeez, don't pull any punches there, John. The numbers and brands don't lie. The Pac-12's conference's top universities get better television ratings than the Big 12 counterparts. The Pac-12 has bigger TV markets, superior brands, stronger broad-based athletic programs, better academics, and higher profile members. The Pac-12 also includes the benefit of the Pacific and Mountain time zones that media partners covet. The notion that the Big 12 is somehow stronger than the Pac-12 is delusional from any quantitative standpoint. Some in the Big 12 country insist it's true. Stuart Mandel of The Athletic pushed this in an interesting study that compared the television impact of the Big 12 and Pac-12. He looked at TV ratings from 2015 to 2019 and 2020. Did include that 2021, that COVID year, just kind of threw those numbers out. Compare those numbers for the remaining universities in each conference. The Pac-12 won by knockout. I am going to bring up that article here. Remember, it is an article with The Athletic, so I'm going to have to just kind of paraphrase it, but I've got a PowerPoint I can share right now with a couple of those headlines. They had a couple key points in there that they wanted to bring up. So here we are with that article. He had a couple things in here. Remember, again, 2015 to the present, excluding 2020, there was 5 key points there. The first one was the fact that losing USC and UCLA is not as catastrophic as losing Oklahoma and Texas. USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12, not as catastrophic as Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12. 73% of Fox and ABC's Big 12 selections included the 2 departing members, aka Oklahoma and Texas, versus 53% for the Pac-12. In addition to that, they said Oregon and Washington draw well, but don't forget Stanford. And then again, something that feeds into that too, everyone but Arizona and Oregon State average at least 1.2 million. See the next slide. We're going to get into that real quick. So this is the thing that's been going all around. Everybody's been seeing this right here. We have to see at the top, we got Oregon, we got Stanford, we got Washington State, Oregon, Utah, dang. Then we get down to Oklahoma State, then we get down to Cal, and then we get to TCU, and then Arizona State. So Arizona State's 1.19 million. But then you see the rest of the Big 12. West Virginia, Baylor, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and then Arizona, and then Kansas State, Oregon State, and Kansas. It did not include those newer teams that are entering. They would have been a little bit lower down there. BYU is actually pretty decent with their membership. But this is clear and away shows that the Pac-12 is stronger than the Big 12. The next point they wanted to bring up there was that the Pac-12 After Dark is a sneaky big advantage, basically because at Pac-12 After Dark, if you think about that, that's 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, so 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central. Most of those, I mean, people are going to bed. That's late. I mean, the game could maybe get done at, midnight or something like that. But the fact that the game starts at 10:30, that's way too late for East Coast Standard Time. And at 9:30, they're going to get the game's going to be done at like 1:30, especially if it goes into overtime. So the Pac-12 After Dark has the fact that anybody on the East Coast at 10:30 who wants to watch college football either picks from the Mountain West or they pick from the Pac-12. And then again, right here, it says the Pac-12 might be okay if it can stick together. That's a big point of contention that they want to make sure, because all it takes, remember here, this is conference realignment. All it takes, there's 10 presidents and athletic directors right now, and that all it takes is 2 at each one of the schools, athletic director and president, to say, you know what, let's go over to the Big 12. That's all it takes. And then that whole line there at the bottom is gone. I knew that there was going to be a battle for the narrative. And the narrative so far, I'm telling you, the narrative so far has been won by the Big 12. If you look at every single available metric, every single report, every single leak, everything that you can find is stating the fact that the Big 12 is in a stronger position. They're going to be getting solid money. They are going to be doing better than the Pac-12 10 remaining going forward. That article was in contrast to that, because like I said this before, there was going to be a battle for the narrative, and the narrative at the beginning was that the Big 12 is the solid league. The narrative now that's kind of being pushed by some of these West Coast people is they're basically saying, no, what are you talking about? This isn't even close. Look at that number. You saw that list. Colorado was more watched than the other schools. Well, there was something, and again, Tony Altomare. I love Tony Altomare. He does a really, really great job. I'm going to show a thing that he had from D1360. D1360 does a really, really good job with a lot of analytical stuff and things like that. And Tony Altomare is Mr. Analytics. He always pushes these kinds of things. He was referencing this tweet right here for a more accurate analysis of the viewership of these teams. So right here from Tony Altomare, and again, he references YouTuber D1360. He has a really good analysis of these viewership items here. So coming down here, we break this down. So these are the teams. And again, let me actually give me 1 second here, because this is kind of crazy. It's really, really small. So this is a breakdown between no games between the Big Ten and these opponents, the SEC, USC, UCLA, Texas, or Oklahoma. It also excluded no conference championship games or bowl games. You see here, the way that's going to work is that this blue is going to be the Pac-12 remaining members, and then the pinkish is going to be the Big 12 remaining members and some of the new members too. So you see like BYU is included in here. A couple of these are down here. I mean, Houston was playing, G5 opponents, UCF G5 opponents, Cincinnati G5 opponents. This is over the last couple years. This hasn't just been 2015 until now. I think this goes as far back to 2012, but you see the fact that it changes a lot. So you see that Oregon is here, that number 2, then Washington State, then Oklahoma State, and then Utah, Kansas State, and then we got Oregon State. Oregon State over the last couple years, they've done better than people give credit for. West Virginia, and then Stanford. You remember that Stanford was number 3 in the other one, and now they're dropping all the way down to 17 of this breakdown. Then you see Baylor, Arizona State, and then we got to run on some Big 12 teams: TCU, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and then we have Cal, and BYU, and then Colorado and Arizona, and then Cincy, Kansas, UCF, and then Houston. So you see that looks a little bit different. The other one had like 5 or 6 ahead. This one's like a 3, so let's just say of the top 5 between both leagues, 4 of them are in the Pac-12. That is an advantage, but it definitely closes the gap on the difference between these two leagues. So like I said, guys, it's a narrative battle right now. That's what we're going between. So if you break it down, because remember, if you look at those Stanford numbers, a lot of that is when they play Notre Dame. And people watching that game, are they watching that game for Stanford, or are they watching that game for Notre Dame? You have to do a much, much more broader analysis and more detailed breakdown of what's actually happening. You can't just say, oh, a whole bunch of people watching this game. If you were to do that, 2 of the top 50 most watched programs in the country, Army and Navy. And just because of one game that's the only game on and everybody watches. However, you take that game out and you average out the rest of those games, they don't really average very many people watching those games. So I think that, in my personal opinion, I do think that Oregon and Washington are going to be fighting for more revenue than an even distribution in the Pac-10. Because I'm saying Pac-10 right now because that's what it is. But I think that they're threatening to go to the Big 12 is leverage in that situation. That's my personal opinion. That's what I think is going on here. I have a hard time seeing them do that. I know that there was actually a really good point that was brought up, the fact that Cal is kind of screwed in the situation. Cal has 26 sports. If they leave conferences other than the Pac-12 or the Mountain West, they are... Can you imagine how much money they're going to lose? I mean, they have to get a huge payday. Otherwise, they're going to lose so much money on that. But get in the comments right now. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Do you guys think that the Pac-12 is actually got a stronger hand? Do you think the Big 12, because of their cohesiveness and because of their probably... Football is a little bit more important to the Big 12 than football is to the Pac-12 current members. I mean, obviously, USC and UCLA, they made, we don't care. 1,500 miles for volleyball on Thursdays. We don't care as long as we get that Big 10 football money. So what do you guys think is going to go down? I think that the Pac-12's remaining 10 members are going to pull something. I think George Kliavkoff has something up his sleeve. Whether or not it's an amazing move, I don't know. But I do know that for right now, the narrative has been that the Big 12 is just in a way better spot, and the Pac-12 is like, well, if you look at some of the numbers here, I think it's more close than Stuart Mandel wants to admit, but I do think that there is something to the fact that the Pac-12 is a decently strong or maybe even stronger than the current and new Big 12. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I am out.